Everyone thinks Pi network is slow, behind schedule, maybe even a waste of time. But what if I told you they're following the exact playbook that built Binance into a $100 billion empire, just in reverse order? In the last 6 months, Pi network dropped 5 major updates. Most people saw 5 separate announcements. I see a 5-step master plan that nobody's connecting. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why doing everything backwards might actually be the smartest move in crypto right now. I'm going to show you something that Coin Bureau and other crypto channels aren't talking about Pi network, because they're focused on the news. But I'm focused on the pattern, and this pattern has created some of the biggest winners in crypto history. So here's what we're covering today. First, I'll break down all 5 updates in plain English. Then I'll show you the hidden strategy connecting them all. And finally, I'll give you 3 specific things to watch that'll tell you if this is real or just another crypto project that fizzles out. But before we dive in, there's one critical piece of context you need to understand about how Binance actually built their empire. And it's not what most people think. Before we dive deeper, I just want to send a big, sincere greeting to all our amazing viewers around the world. I see so many of you tuning in every week from Indonesia, India, Nigeria, South Africa, and the Philippines. You guys are truly incredible. And to everyone watching from Malaysia, Rwanda, Ghana, Kenya, and all across the world, thank you for being part of this growing Pi family. Let me know down in the comments where you're watching from. And if you still believe in the Pi mission, go ahead and type Pi to the moon. And hey, if you enjoy videos like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with another pioneer who needs to see it. As usual, I'm Nathan, and I'm really excited to break this one down for you. So, let's get started. Let's rewind to 2017. Binance launched as just another crypto exchange. Nothing special. But they did something unusual. They built their exchange first, got it running smooth, made it the go-to place for trading. Only after they had millions of users did they launch Binance Smart Chain in 2020. Think about that sequence. Product first, users second, then decentralization, then ecosystem features. Then they became unstoppable. This is the normal playbook in crypto. Build the tech, hope users come later. Ethereum did it. Solana did it. Everyone does it this way. Except Pi network. They're doing it completely backwards. And here's why that matters. Pi started in 2019 with a mobile app, no blockchain, no fancy tech, just a simple app that let people mine Pi on their phones. Critics laughed. They said it was pointless. But here's what happened. They built 60 million users before they even had a working blockchain. 60 million people. That's more users than most blockchains will ever see. And they got them all before launching the actual product. Now, in 2025, 6 years later, they're finally rolling out the tech. The decentralization, the features, everything Binance built over 3 years, Pi is deploying right now. But they're doing it with a 60 million person head start. This brings us to the 5 updates that just dropped. And when you see them through this lens, everything changes. But there's one update that happened first that makes all the others make sense. On May 14th, 2025, something happened that most people glossed over. Dr. Nicholas Kokolis, the founder of Pi Network, showed up at Consensus 2025 in Toronto. This is one of the biggest crypto conferences in the world. He hadn't spoken publicly at a major event in 3 years. 3 years of silence. Then suddenly, he's on stage at Consensus, outlining technical milestones. Now here's what most coverage missed. You don't go to Consensus to talk to retail investors. Regular people aren't at Consensus. You go to Consensus to talk to institutions, to exchanges, to the people who control the gates to mainstream crypto. And what did he announce? Full decentralization. He said Pi network is moving to complete community node processing and disconnecting all centralized servers. This is update number 4 technically, but it's connected to update number 1 because the timing tells you everything. He waited 3 years, built the user base, perfected the tech in silence, then went to the most visible stage in crypto to announce they're ready. Think about what this signals. When Coinbase was fighting with regulators, they kept quiet. When Binance was dealing with lawsuits, they laid low. When you're building something real, you don't show up at consensus until you're ready to go mainstream. The decentralization announcement isn't just a technical upgrade, it's a signal flare. It's Pi saying we're no longer a science project. We're ready for prime time. And here's why this matters more than people realize. Every major exchange has a checklist before they'll list your token. Decentralization is always on that list. You can't get on Coinbase or Kraken or Binance if you're running on centralized servers. It's a non-starter. So Dr. Nicholas goes to consensus, announces decentralization, and suddenly the gates to major exchanges unlock. But decentralization alone isn't enough to create a thriving ecosystem. You need an economic engine. And that's where updates 2 and 3 come in, and they're bigger than anyone's giving them credit for. In October 2025, Pi Network launched 3 massive features on their testnet: a decentralized exchange, automated market maker liquidity pools, and token creation tools. Most people saw this and thought, okay, cool, another DEX. But let me show you why this is actually the most important update of all 5. When PancakeSwap launched on Binance Smart Chain in September 2020, BNB was trading around $60. Within 18 months, BNB hit $6.90. That's more than 10 times growth. And PancakeSwap was the primary driver. Here's why. A DEX creates forced demand for the native token. Every transaction needs Pi. Every liquidity pool locks up Pi. Every new token created on the network requires Pi for gas fees. The more activity on the DEX, the more Pi gets removed from circulation. It's a flywheel effect. More tokens get created. Each token needs liquidity pools. Liquidity pools need Pi. Pi gets scarcer. Price goes up. Higher price attracts more developers. More developers create more tokens. The wheel keeps spinning. But here's the genius part. Pi is doing this on testnet first. They're not rushing to mainnet. They're testing everything with fake Pi that has no value. Finding the bugs, smoothing out the user experience, making sure everything works before real money flows through. This is where Update 3 comes in. Protocol 23 is the technical upgrade scheduled for Q4 2025. And this is the piece that tells you they're thinking long-term. Protocol 23 isn't about making transactions slightly faster. It's about infrastructure that can handle Binance-level volume. We're talking hundreds of thousands of transactions per second. Most DEXs crumble under heavy load. Remember when Uniswap would cost you $50 in gas fees during peak times? Pi is building the infrastructure before they need it. They're stress testing on testnet. They're upgrading the protocol. And they're doing it all before mainnet launch. Now think about the sequence again. 60 million users waiting. Decentralization announced. DEX ready to go. Protocol upgraded to handle massive volume. What's missing? The actual mainnet launch. And that's coming in Q4 2025 or early Q1 2026 according to analysts. But there's one more piece of this puzzle that most people completely ignored, and it reveals something about where Pi is heading that nobody's talking about. On September 30th, 2025, the Pi domains auction ended. And if you're thinking who cares about domains, you're missing the bigger picture. Let me tell you about Ethereum Name Service. ENS launched in 2017 as a simple way to create readable names for Ethereum addresses. Instead of sending crypto to a long string of numbers and letters, you could send it to someone.eth. Today, ENS is worth $2.5 billion. Just the naming system. Not the blockchain, not the applications, just the ability to have a clean, readable name on the network. Pi just closed their domain auction for .pi names. And this tells you something critical. They're not just building a blockchain, they're building an ecosystem. Domains are infrastructure for identity. You need identity before you can have mainstream applications. Think about it. You can't have social networks without usernames. You can't have marketplaces without seller profiles. You can't have a Web3 internet without Web3 names. By launching domains now, before Mainnet, Pi is laying the foundation for what comes after. And what comes after is going to need those 60 million users. Here's the thing nobody's connecting. PancakeSwap worked because Binance Smart Chain had users and low fees. Uniswap worked because Ethereum had developers and liquidity. Pi has 60 million people waiting, and they just built all the infrastructure those 60 million people will need. The domains auction wasn't about making money from selling names. It was about proving the ecosystem is real, that people believe in it enough to buy digital real estate. And when the mainnet launches, all those domain holders become the first wave of ecosystem participants. So, now we've covered all 5 updates: consensus appearance, decentralization, DEX, and AMM, Protocol 23, domains. And you can see how they all connect. But here's where we need to talk about the elephant in the room. Is Pi late? Absolutely. They've been building this for 6 years. Most projects launch in 18 months. So why did they wait? Let me paint you a picture. If Pi had launched in 2021 during the bull market, what would have happened? They would have pumped to some crazy number. Then the bear market would have destroyed them. Just like Luna, just like Celsius, just like dozens of projects that launched at the wrong time. If they launched in 2023, they would have walked straight into the regulatory chaos. Coinbase getting attacked by the SEC. Binance fighting lawsuits in multiple countries. Not exactly ideal timing for a project trying to go mainstream. But 2025. Regulatory clarity is starting to emerge. The market has matured. The tourists are gone. Only serious projects are still building. And Pi is launching into a clean environment. Here's the part that makes this interesting. They waited out the bloodbath. They built while everyone else was panicking. And now they're coming to market with 60 million users, full decentralization, working DEX infrastructure, and upgraded protocols. But let's be real. There are risks here. Big ones. What if Mainnet keeps delaying past the first quarter of 2026? What if the node decentralization numbers don't match their claims? What if major exchanges still don't list Pi after decentralization? What if the DEX launches on Mainnet and nobody actually uses it? These are legitimate concerns. And that's why I'm not here to tell you Pi is going to the moon. I'm here to show you the strategy and let you decide if it makes sense. But there is a way to track this. 3 specific metrics that'll tell you if this is real or not, and that's what I want to leave you with. Here's your 3-phase watch list. Phase 1 is now through the 4th quarter of 2025. Watch the Protocol 23 testnet performance. Are transactions smooth? Are there bugs? Is the DEX actually working? If testnet keeps having problems, that's a red flag. Phase 2 is Q1 2026. This is Mainnet launch and the first major exchange listing. If Mainnet launches but no major exchange lists Pi, that's a problem. If exchanges list Pi but the price dumps immediately, that tells you the market doesn't believe the story. Phase 3 is Q2 2026. This is DEX total value locked and DApp ecosystem growth. Are developers actually building on Pi? Are people actually using the DEX? Is real money flowing through the system? This is where you find out if the 60 million users were real or just people clicking a button on their phones. Pi Network isn't late. They're playing a different game. They built the audience before the product. They waited out the chaos. And they're launching with infrastructure that most chains take years to build. Whether that strategy works, we'll know in the next 6 months. But now you understand what most people are missing. This isn't 5 random updates. It's a master plan. And if it works, we're watching the birth of something that could rival Binance. And hey, if you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with another pioneer who needs to see it right now. That's it for today. If this analysis helped you see Pi differently, let me know in the comments. And I'll see you in the next one.